Berserk is undeniably one of the most iconic pieces of fiction to ever exist. You so much as dip a pinky into either the anime or manga community, you will hear about Berserk. In fact, due to its influence on other media, such as the Dark Souls and Bloodborne games, you don't even need to have ever watched an anime or read a manga to have heard of Berserk. I am a massive fan of anime. Frankly, I've probably watched too many, but I've never read a manga before. And I thought, given the high acclaim and the fact that Berserk is apparently so good that even someone who doesn't like manga would enjoy it, I thought that I'd start with Berserk. Some people might say that I would have been better going with something a little softer for my first time, but I say no. Give it to me. And Berserk definitely did. Now the title of this video isn't a lie. So far I've only read the first deluxe volume of Berserk. This covers the entire Black Swordsman arc, the first arc of the manga, and just the very start of the Golden Age arc, the most famous arc in the series. And that is what I'll be giving my opinion of in this video. So don't expect me to talk about characters like Casca, as she hasn't shown up yet in the manga. Also, whilst this is my first time reading Berserk, it's not my first experience with Berserk. I have seen the anime adaptation by OLM from the late 90s. I still find it hilarious that Berserk was the first anime that OLM made after they made their most iconic work, Pokemon. But regardless, I was already somewhat familiar with Berserk's story. However, the anime was an adaptation of the Golden Age arc and only briefly covered a small part of the Black Swordsman arc. Luckily, I wouldn't be beginning the manga covering events and moments that I'd already seen. Also, fair warning, this is my first ever video on a manga, so I apologise if the editing is a little weaker than usual. I'm going to be using a lot of anime footage, even footage from the much maligned CGI Berserk anime, which I chose not to subject myself to, and that new upcoming fan animation by Studio Eclipse. I really hope that anime lives up to everyone's expectations, and I'm excited for its release. I will show some shots of the manga here and there, but it will be shots that I took on my phone, since I didn't want to Google Berserk manga panels and then see a panel where Guts beheads Griffith or something like that. But anyway, the first deluxe volume covers the first 9 chapters of Berserk. The Black Swordsman arc follows the Black Swordsman himself, Guts, a man wandering seemingly aimlessly around, killing any demons that he comes across. All whilst this brand on his neck burns fiercely, drawing the creatures of hell towards him. Now the thing that I love most about Berserk at the moment is Guts' character. The world of Berserk is not one that you want to be a part of. This is a world filled with literal demons, and on top of that, the average person can be just as monstrous. Unsurprisingly, this world, as well as the few hints that this arc gives us to his backstory, has had a major impact on Guts' character. Guts is not a good person. He's been moulded into this ruthless killer who only has slaying demons and surviving on his mind. And not only that, but he also enjoys it. He takes great pleasure out of inflicting pain on these demons. In fact, it seems to be the only thing that makes him happy, which should tell you all you need to know about Guts' mental state and the world that he's living in. At first, you kind of dislike Guts. He doesn't care about others. He views them as people who just get in his way, and if they die, they die. It's their fault for being weak in this world. But this arc really does a good job of illustrating why Guts is the way that he is. Because of that brand on his neck, he is being pursued non-stop by the literal demons of hell. He can't even go to sleep without a monster trying to kill him. Every waking moment of Guts' life is filled with misery and suffering, and this has driven him to the verge of insanity, and filled his heart with nothing but anger and hatred. That's right, Guts has gone berserk. Many people in real life live in their own little bubble, and the same could be said for Guts. However, for other people, that bubble is meant to be a source of comfort and safety. Guts' bubble only tries to kill him and is a constant source of anguish for him. And when you realise, I mean truly understand how awful Guts' life is, it will completely flip how you view this character. Guts comes across a couple characters in this arc who don't even know that demons exist and don't believe Guts when he tells them that they should stay away from him. Yet every second of Guts' life is spent dealing with demons. It completely changed how I viewed Guts. At first I just thought that this is who Guts is, but it isn't. Guts isn't a bad person, he's just a victim of circumstance. And you do see who Guts should have been slip out every now and then. There's a virtuous and kind side of Guts that has been smothered by his deep-seated anger and rage, and every now and then you'll see that part of him instinctively come to the surface, or you'll watch as he does his best to kill that part of himself. Learning about the horrific circumstances that Guts must live through and getting that brief glimpse into his backstory makes Guts a character that the reader will sympathise with and root for. It's no surprise that Guts has snapped, and you don't root for him to kill these demons and monsters, you're rooting for him to regain his humanity and become a better person in this hopeless and desolate world. Even in just this first arc, it is clear just how incredible a protagonist Guts is, and I really look forward to seeing how his character grows and develops moving forward. However, Guts isn't the only major character in this arc. Whilst we do get to see a glimpse of the God Hand in Griffith in this arc, Puck is the only other character that I would consider a major player in this arc. Puck is this little elf of the pixie race who does nothing but buzz around Guts' head and annoy him. Now I'll be honest, I'm not sure how I feel about Puck's character. On the one hand, he's this really positive character in this dark and horrible world who is genuinely trying to steer Guts in a better direction and be a positive influence for him. But on the other hand, he's this really positive character in this dark and horrible world, so sometimes he can feel at odds with the tone of the story. And whilst Guts could be really cruel and horrible towards Puck, sometimes I did agree with him and found Puck to be a bit annoying. It doesn't help that Puck pulls a lot of what I'm going to refer to as anime faces, or chibi faces might be the correct term. This is obviously done for humorous effect. Even Guts does it a couple of times here and there, although in his case it's usually because he is so shocked or disappointed in something that Puck has done. When Puck pulls these faces, I don't know how to feel. I think they just take me out of the manga a little. This is a really dark and serious story, so sometimes this humour can feel a little forced, at least for me. Maybe I'll end up really enjoying it down the line and appreciating it, but currently I wish it was something that the manga didn't have, or had less of. It probably doesn't help that in my head, Puck had this really annoying voice. I just imagined him with this high-pitched girly voice. But then again, that's probably the point of Puck, which is why I'm not sure how I truly feel about him yet. He's supposed to be this kind of annoying character that slowly chips away at Guts. I could totally see Guts doing the right thing just because Puck kept badgering on about it to him. And whilst he can get on my nerves, I'm certain that I'll miss his presence when he's gone. Just like Guts would. Because all that would be left for Guts would be this lonely journey through hell. I'm really hoping that I warm up to Puck as the series goes on. I'm not sure if Puck is in the Golden Age arc or not. I know it's a flashback arc, but I don't know if he has a little cameo or not, so it might be a while before Puck gets his second chance to make a good impression. I really enjoyed this first deluxe volume of Berserk, but I'm not going to lie to you, it didn't blow me away. Yes, it has a great lead and an interesting and unique world, and the artwork is just fantastic. One thing that I already love about Berserk is how it can capture such beauty in horror. There are two different art styles. Every chapter seems to begin with this extremely detailed and beautiful artwork. I don't know if that's common in manga, but even if it is, I highly doubt that most manga are able to look as good as this. And the slightly less detailed but still excellent art style for the rest of the chapter can really shock you with how well drawn it is. The artwork is so good that it feels like it should be hung up in your living room. Might look a little out of place and people might question your taste, but you know what I mean. Berserk is a truly stunning manga to look at. Berserk is often heralded as the greatest manga to ever exist and is described as objectively being a masterpiece, and I'm sure I'll get to that point too, but I don't want to start saying that Berserk is a masterpiece when I've only just begun. It is really good, but this did feel like a prologue, and not a prologue like Vinland Saga's, a prologue so good that it got its own prologue, but just a normal prologue setting up the story and main characters of Berserk. I felt a bit bad at first feeling this way until I reached this piece of text attached at the end of the book. It spoke a little bit about Kentaro Miura and the history of Berserk, and one of the things that it states is that in 1990 the first chapters of Berserk were released to little fanfare. It then goes on to say that Berserk's popularity grew with the release of the Golden Age arc, which to me implies that the Black Swordsman arc, although being really good and I did really like it, isn't what people talk about when they call Berserk a masterpiece. Now some of you might think that I'm being unnecessarily negative here, but I wanted to be honest about how I felt about this arc. In fact, my favourite part of the deluxe volume was the brief part of the Golden Age arc which showed Guts as a child. Maybe it's because I'm expecting the Golden Age arc to be good, but this part of the manga made me the most interested to read what happens next, which I will do right after I finish writing this script. The other reason I'm saying all this is because I'm expecting to turn around and say to all of you that Berserk is a masterpiece. Maybe it will be after the Golden Age arc, or maybe it will be even further after that, but I feel like me saying that will have even more of an effect if you know that I liked but didn't love the first arc. Also, reading this made me realise how much I love anime, because I really missed hearing the voice acting and the soundtrack, and there were so many panels where I'd visualise in my head how it would look animated. If Berserk got an actually good adaptation with good voice acting and good animation and beautiful music, it would take over the world. Kentaro Miura has crafted a very unique world with an interesting story and protagonist, and like I said, the artwork is beautiful. It does make me sad that whilst my Berserk journey is only just beginning, Miura's came to an end not too long ago, long before it should have ever reached its conclusion. I plan to continue reading Berserk and I can't wait to see where this story goes, especially as the Golden Age arc is the next arc for me to dive into. But that's just what I think about Berserk, the Black Swordsman arc. What about you? What do you think about Berserk and the Black Swordsman arc? Do you think that Berserk is a masterpiece from its very first arc, or did you need some time before you could call it one? What do you think about Guts, and what do you think about Puck? Do you really like him, or do you hate him, and does he get better as the manga progresses? Also, how would you like me to make future Berserk videos? Did you like the current editing style, or would you prefer more manga panels? And are the firm photos okay? Also, would it be better for me to make a video on Berserk after I've read the whole thing, or would you prefer I make a video after each deluxe volume, or instead each arc? Currently, I'm thinking about making a video on each arc, but do let me know what you think in the comments below, and also let me know if you have any recommendations for any manga that I should read after I finish Berserk. Before anyone says Tokyo Ghoul, I just want to let you know that I've already bought all the volumes, and that will be the manga I read first after Berserk. Also, whilst you're down there commenting, do be sure to hit the like button. It significantly boosts this video in the YouTube algorithm, and if you're feeling especially generous, then do consider subscribing. I'm hoping to hit 1000 subscribers before the end of the year. We're nearly there. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.